Alright, FishAholics just pulled up with the truck, and I think today we're going to try and launch the kayak. We're in Palm Coast, and I'm here with the fam. They came down south, and then I went a little further north from where I was staying in Florida, and I'm sneaking away this morning to try and get out and do some fishing. And where we're staying, it's pretty sweet because we have this like boating area where we can supposedly launch a kayak. So we're going to check it out now and see what we got to do to get the kayak in the water. I'm liking this. This is pretty sweet. We've got access to this private dock here, a little gazebo, and this is on the intercoastal. It looks like we've got a little fillet station for later if we possibly keep some fish, which I did promise the fam some fish for dinner, so we're going to try and make it happen. Now this is probably where we'll launch the kayak. I'm going to sneak it down there along the dock and throw it in right there on the beach. So looks good. Let's go get rigged up, see if we can get out there and catch some fish. All right, I think we're about ready to go. I'm bringing 2 light tackle inshore setups, also a little cooler, PB&J, fillet knife, SPF 70, just in case the sun gets real bad. We've got a couple waters and 3 dead mullet that I caught yesterday, so that might be good for some dead baits along the bottom. And I think that should be good. Let's go catch some fish. All right, so this is where we're at here. So I think we're gonna go down and kind of with the tide just about started going out. And then there's like a little creek, like right here. We're gonna go inside that little creek and kind of explore around. All right, well, we made it up the creek and it was a lot closer than I thought it was. So we got here fairly quickly, didn't really fish too much in between. And it's looking really nice. We got some nice oyster beds, a nice trickle of outgoing current, and I think it might even get better as the water gets lower because the fish will get more concentrated. So hopefully we can find some redfish or a speckled trout in the area. That's the main game for today, and it would be pretty sweet if we can get, you know, a perfect slot size red for the table. There we go, first catch of the day. Oyster shell. So I'm no expert red fisherman or trout fisherman, and since this is also our first time in this spot, the odds are stacked against us to get on a good bite. So if we can get on at least one or the other species on a little bite, I think that'll be a good day. All right, so it's probably been about like 45 minutes and it's been pretty slow, real shallow because this tide is getting real low. And we're not seeing a whole lot of fish activity other than a lot of mullet. See these rings right here, that's mullet all fleeing away from me. So we're gonna keep, I guess, just moving around. All right, so we're beaching the kayak because we've got some pretty skinny water right here behind us, and I think it'll be easier to sneak up on some fish and possibly sight fish them if we're just wading through the flats instead of, you know, splashing around with the paddles or pushing our way through in the kayak. So I don't know, we're gonna grab a few baits and I guess just go for a walk. Whoa, there's a stingray. I'm kind of just scoping out these flats to see if we see any fish activity. If we do, then we fish. If we don't, then we're probably just gonna go back to the yak and head to another spot. You know, it shouldn't take much just to walk along here and at least spook some fish if they're here. Seems like this whole area looks like a flat right now. I mean, because the tide is so low. Oh, flounder just was in inches of water. Did you see that? That was crazy. There's a fish. Boom. Feels pretty decent. What do we got? What do we got? Oh, a little red. Hey, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Not a giant, but it's a way to start it off. On a little sea shad swim bait. Look at that. Beautiful. Oh man, don't do it. Don't do it. Look at that beautiful blue tail. It's gorgeous. Definitely looking for a red for the table, but we need one a little bit bigger than that. That was sweet. All right, so it's probably been like 45 minutes fishing this flat right here, and we caught that one red on the end of an oyster bed. So we could probably learn something from that, and I think we're gonna head back to the kayak. We're probably a quarter mile away, so we fished a good area of this flat, and maybe we'll get in the kayak and just kind of bounce around from oyster bed to oyster bed. And now that the tide is flooding, maybe as the tide gets higher and higher, it'll push more and more fish up into those oyster beds until those oyster beds are eventually flooded, and then the reds may be feeding right on top of the oyster beds. So yeah, let's keep that moving around and see if we can get a few more reds. I hope we do. All right, just got this other flat, looks pretty good. Wind's gonna push us kind of inside and up in this creek, and I guess we'll give it a shot. All right, it's been pretty slow for the last couple hours. I've been bouncing around like all over the place, fishing flats, fishing oyster beds, and I had one little trout on that got off. That's about it. Now we're kind of just letting the wind take us across this flat and hoping we find a couple fish. Is that a fish? Yeah, that's a fish. There's one right there. Nice red, man. Oh, stay hooked, stay hooked. Real nice fish. Oh. Barely hooked. Oh man, no. There he is. That's a nice red. All right, nice red right there on the sea shad swim bait. Let's see how big he is. He's definitely a keeper. He is probably 20 to 22 inch slot size red. Beautiful fish, and since the fam wanted some fish for the table, sadly we're gonna have to keep this guy. Sorry, buddy. All right, sweet. All right, so let's see if we can get another bite, or was that just luck? Hopefully we're figuring a little something out here. A lot of mullet in here. That's probably why that red ate this little swim bait. Thought it was a small little mullet. All right, well, it's been like 2 hours since our second redfish, and I guess we had a little bit of luck on our side when we caught that one, because we just fished this same flat really hard, and I don't know, we couldn't buy another bite. The tide is coming up a little bit higher, and it brought even more bait in with it. And the only reason we fished it for like 2 more hours after we caught our second fish is because I know that there's fish here, whether they be trout or maybe there's some more reds, because we've been seeing, you know, sporadic blow-ups on some of the mullet, but we just haven't been able to buy a bite on the plugs, probably because we're not, you know, matching that hatch exactly. They're really keyed in on that live bait, especially when there's a ton of live bait, then it's, you know, hard to get a bite on the plugs. So now that the tide's getting higher, though, I'm thinking we'll start heading back to the launch and getting up into the creeks. Maybe we can, you know, find some fish up in there. Maybe they'll be tailing. That would be pretty sweet. But yeah, let's just get a move on. I don't want to have the fish sitting in the cooler for too long. Alright, so we started working our way back, and unfortunately I dropped part of my GoPro microphone in the salt water while I was changing out the GoPro battery. Therefore, the rest of the GoPro footage audio is pretty much corrupt from all the wind because the microphone wasn't working. But fortunately enough, we did get on a few more fish. So we ended up finding our fish pushing up onto the edge of this oyster bar with the flood tide at the mouth of the creek. And we were sitting in about 1.5 feet of water, casting up to about 6 inches or a foot, and just popping that swim bait off the oyster bar. And that's how we were getting bit. Alright guys, we're back, and to be honest, it feels so good to be back. I'm beat. It is 6:30, and I would say we launched probably at around like 7:30ish in the morning or 8 a.m. So we were easily out there for about 10 hours and did way more fishing and exploring than actually catching. But that's what I kind of figured was in store because it was our first time fishing any water here. So I'm kind of content with what we caught, and I think it was a success. We got one for the table and caught 4 other little reds, so we definitely learned a little bit of something. And maybe for the next few days, we'll have an idea of kind of where to go first and when to fish, and that'll just make us even more successful in this area. So for the rest of the video, let's just load up the yak and cut up fish. Alright, and there you have it, our single redfish harvest from today. And this is actually the first redfish I've ever harvested. I've only eaten it one other time, and it was blackened, and it was so good. So I can't wait to chow down on it tonight. I'm sure the fam's gonna enjoy it as well. We're probably gonna eat all of this tonight, and we're just gonna probably fry it and lemon pepper garlic it and throw it in the oven or the grill. So nothing crazy. So this is not gonna be a catch and cook vid, but just kind of informing you about the meat and whether it's good or not. And I'll put down in the description or the comment section my rating of redfish. But it's very similar texture and taste to striped bass for any of you northern guys watching. And we had to work really hard for just these 2 fillets, so that's gonna make it taste just that much better. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the vid. We're gonna have a killer sunset right now. And I'm down here for a few more days. Might do something similar if I can get back out. But be sure to like the vid, subscribe, and check out the FishAholic merch to help support the channel. And like always, never forget, live to fish, fish to live.